No, I've been opposed to any taxes that are broad-based or that would affect working families in this budget.
What would you do if you got a budget that had stuff like that in it?
I'm telling you, anything that's broad-based and that would have a negative impact on working families, I would veto a budget like that.
Well, is that the same governor that said he was not going to support a gerrymandered map? I think that's the same governor. So I think the governor has a political interest in trying to fight for the taxpayers because his interest is in presidential politics, not state politics. This is clearly a job that bores him now, and it's evident by the pain that he's putting on everybody that we represent and everybody throughout the state. And so if anything that comes out of the governor's mouth, it's only to advance his political and presidential agenda. I don't think it's anything to advance the interests of the state of Illinois.
CMS announced they're going to start kind of rationing back some of the money for Medicaid for non-citizens. They weren't focused just on like emergency services. How's that going to impact the HBIS program?
Well, we'll see what happens. That's, of course, in the bill that's been introduced, the one big bad bill that has gone through the House that we're now going to wait for the Senate to rule on. We'll know more, of course, when it goes through. And I think there are a lot of people that are opposed to, in the Senate, opposed to the cuts in Medicaid. The impact on Republican districts and senators representing states that voted Republican is just as great, if not greater, than the impact on Democratic districts and states that voted Democratic. So I think there's deep concern among senators about those Medicaid cuts, and I think that means at least there is a chance that we'll be able to preserve medical services for people across the country, veteran services for people. They're trying to take away SNAP benefits from children across the country. And this is all because Donald Trump, frankly, doesn't give a darn about working people, about folks who are vulnerable in our society, and only wants to give a massive tax cut to the wealthiest people in the country.
Well, the Democrats have continually shown, we spent $3.2 billion on illegals. We blew through $8 or $9 billion on COVID funds. And they're going to set up this budget to cry about Donald Trump, right? Because our fiscal house is not in order. They continually raise taxes and they continue to spend. But instead of possibly getting in line with the Trump administration, they're doubling down on these initiatives. We're running continued bills. I sit on the immigration committee as the Republican spokesman. I see bills all the time doubling down on the sanctuary state, sanctuary city policies here in the state of Illinois, and Donald Trump has made it perfectly clear where he stands on that issue. The DOJ, the State Department, everybody has made it perfectly clear where they stand on those issues. And then you go to higher ed funding. You go to what's happening in our colleges and our four-year universities. We're talking about, the woke indoctrination in our schools. We're talking about what's happening in our public education system. Then we talk about Title IX violations. With boys being allowed to play in girls' sports. You see what's happening all over the state with that issue, and you also see about boys being in girls' locker rooms. These are common sense initiatives that 95% of the people support. They support whenever they don't want girls or boys competing in girls' sports. They don't want boys in girls' locker rooms. Yet the governor and the Democrats continue to double down on these radical, woke issues, and at the end of the day, they're going to cry about the fact that Donald Trump's going to withhold federal funding. Well, he should withhold federal funding, okay? If we can't get our fiscal house in order, then you continue to have these woke initiatives and fly in the face of common sense and real-world possibilities, and you're going to say we're not going to comply with Trump's mandates or his executive orders. What do you expect is going to happen? You think Trump's going to sit there and say, well, yeah, you guys keep invading girls' safe spaces and running all these boys in these track meets and keep pushing this woke radical agenda, keep putting DEI in every bill that we see, and also support illegal immigrants over the citizens of this great state of Illinois? Of course, if I'm him, I'm going to cut that federal funding, and he should cut that funding.